Hey everybody, welcome back to the Dice Tower. My name is Chris Yee.
I'm Camilla Cleghorn.
I'm Mike DiLisio.
Now we're going to be taking a look at this game here called Explorers. Very memorable name. Unique, not at all difficult to search on the Board Game Geek database, for example. This is what one would call a flip and write game. Roll and write, but will you flip things over? Are y'all particular about that?
Not terribly,
I'm
no.
particular when they try to get like punny with it, you know? Like, it's a dig and write. It's like, no, it's a flip and write,
It's
or
a
a roll and write. Or
fright
it's a,
game.
yeah, exactly. It's like, no, it just, so I'm more of a roll and write category.
Yeah, I think so. It's only because you flip things over, and I find that that's maybe more my preferred thing. I'll show you how it plays, what I mean by flip and write if you're not familiar with that, then we'll give you our thoughts. Here's the setup for a game of Explorers. Every player has a matching board over here on their own and a pen, a dry erase marker, I should say. There's also a stack here of 8 exploration tiles. These are going to determine the terrain. Now, the starting spot that each player is going to be marking out on the different terrain types is the village here that's closest to the central point, so we crossed off number 1. At the start of the game, one of these tiles will be flipped over. Whoever's the first player for this turn will choose one of these 2 terrain types, either water or desert in this case, and they get to mark off 3 X's in that terrain type. So let's say the first player picks water and is going to go 1, 2, 3 right down the line there. Now all the other players can either choose desert and cross off 3 desert spaces on their board, or they can choose water, but they would only get to mark off 2 water spaces on their turn. The next player becomes the first player. This token flips over, and then they would choose, and then everyone does the same type of thing. If they follow the same suit that the leader chose, they only get 2 X's of that type. But if they do the opposite one, then they could get up to 3 X's. Play continues this way. There are certain tiles here that will show a combination of terrains, so the active player could choose to do 3 X's both here, in this case, for example, in desert and grass, like this, 1, 2, 3, or they could do a combination of water and whatever the gray thing is. So there's 8 turns to each round, and the game is played over 4 rounds. Now there's different types of things you'll be collecting out here. Every time you cross off a key like I did, you will circle one of these keys. The keys will give you access to one of these temples. So over the course of the game, as you go up here to the temple, when you cross that space off, you pay a key to get into it, and then you'll get to mark off the highest victory point value, for example 12 at the start. Every other player has to cross off that 12 on this tile here, and the next person to go there can get 10 points. Gems here are collected and then marked up here on this board. At the end of each of the 4 rounds, you will earn points equal to the number of gems that you have collected in total up to that point. So by collecting 4 gems in the first round, you'll earn 4 points. If you collect 2 more gems at the end of the second round, you would get 6 points. The different types of food here, the apples, carrots, and the fish, at the end of each round, you'll score them up. If you have 1 of any of the kind, you'll get 2 points. If you have 2 of them, you get 5. If you have all 3 in a round, you get 10 points. But then that round is scored, and then you'll move on to the next round here, and you'll score that each time, as well as the temples. So the board here, you'll notice, comes apart, because this frame itself will flip over, and you see that the temples can score a different way. They can give you 8 points, but give you additional X's that you get to mark off around. Or you can use the alternate scoring for each of these here. Oh, I should mention that there's bonuses for connecting to the 4 different villages and surrounding them with different number of X's, or you can play with this side here, where you'll get different types of bonuses. You will negate negative points and then start earning positive points the more gems that you collect, or try to collect multiple types of food all within the same round. There are also 8 boards per possible setup per player, so you don't have to use this setup. This could be your modular setup, or this could be your modular setup. They are completely changeable and movable. There's also an advanced rules where you can play with 1, 2, or 3 of these back sides of anyone's map tiles. And these are even more bonus objectives to chase for, and at the end of the game, whoever has the most points is going to be the winner. There are also rules in the back of the book here for a solo variant in which you play against a high score, a different point threshold. You add more points to make it more difficult if you use more of these bonuses, and that's how you play. So starting off, a lot of times we talk about components and production, and usually with roll and write games, there's not much to talk about in that regard.
Sure.
I think that there actually is a little bit more with this one, and maybe that's kind of the hook of it. What do you think of the way that this is produced and put together?
Do you have any specific things that you're angling towards?
Are you
here?
fishing here?
Yeah,
for
are you-
change?
I'm not fishing. No. Do you have any thoughts on the way that this is produced? I mean,
It's perfectly fine. I mean, I think you've mentioned earlier that these roll and write / flip and write, whatever you want to call them, have become pretty big, or there are a number of them. Adding dry erase to that genre makes sense, right? It just makes sense on a practical level, so that you're not going through sheets of paper over and over and over again. I like that kind of innovation. I feel like it works very well on a practical level. It makes sense. You don't have to worry about running out of your components. I feel like the components in this were fine. They were absolutely serviceable, and I'm glad they went with the dry erase route.
okay.
So I feel stronger about it. I really like the components in this. I think that because the board has that modularity, I think it fits very well in there. And I was concerned about that, it being dry erase. And as you erase it, is it going to get muddied because different pieces? No, they fit tightly in there, but you also don't have to really struggle. Like, you can pick up your board and it not fall apart, but you also don't have to spend 5 minutes trying to get it in there, maybe shave a couple corners. No, so I thought it worked really well. I had concerns. I struggle with dry erase in roll and writes, because I feel like there's a lot of games where if you're writing stuff, the markers are too thick, or you accidentally erase something. I did not have that problem in this, and I think it's just because you're just going through and marking some X's and then doing your scores. You don't get in your own way in it, and so I thought it was a smart choice in this, because the dry erase works in this.
Yeah, that's what I was fishing for.
Okay, fair
No,
enough.
I wasn't really fishing. I like what this does, and the fact that everything pops out means that you have modularity. You don't have a stack of paper that says, here's your map.
Sure.
And I think that that's maybe part of the hook of it, is that the map changes every time. On the back of them is the bonus objectives that you can add into the game, and that changes it up every time. So I think that modularity is really impressive with this. It is funny, though, because the frame, you can't just pick it up and be like, look at my map, because
Right. Yes.
it's not quite in there. So I don't know. Gameplay-wise, I think we'd all say this is a pretty straightforward game, right?
Yes. Yes. Perhaps to its detriment.
Okay.
If I'm going to kind of bury the lead here a little bit, I feel like maybe to no fault of its own, this is coming out at a time when this is exploding in the board gaming market. And I mean these roll and write or flip and write games. And so I think that it gets increasingly difficult to stand out. I do wonder, what is the hook of this, other than perhaps some of the modularity, which I do see in other roll and write, flip and write games. What is going to make me choose this over other games? This is a question I'm posing to both of you, because the short answer for me is I likely won't.
I think for me, it is that modularity, and it packages. It's really nothing new. I think we maybe agree. There's really nothing new to it, but it takes mechanisms from different ones that I like and puts it all in one package. I think really, really smoothly. Also giving that modularity for that replay value. And so I like, because even with that modularity, you're all starting with the same map. I mean, you take during setup to make your maps match. And I really like that. And again, you kind of see that, do you play on different mats that are balanced, or do you play on matching mats? This is a matching mat one. But then you have the same information presented, but your choices can lead to very different paths. Again, mechanisms we've seen, we know, we feel these things, but I think it does it in a way that, to me, is fresh because of that simplicity, the modularity, the interaction of the game, that you have the scoring at the different parts of the game. Do you go for this, which is going to score every round, but then late game, it's only going to score once, so you stop focusing on that, and you're also building up this other mechanism. So I think it's that balance of the different kind of scoring, the different time scoring mechanisms, the straightforwardness of the gameplay, the same information, different choices, the modularity, all those things that I love in roll and writes in one package that's very easy to understand and accessible. That's what kind of sets it apart for me.
I think that's... Oh, sorry.
I say it's nothing new. It's just a great package of all those things I like.
I would agree that there's nothing terribly innovative, but I like two hooks. One is when you flip over the tile, you do the flipping part of the flip and right. the lead player for that turn chooses. I choose desert, and now everyone else has that choice. Well, crap, I wanted to write 3 deserts, but now I can only do 2, or I can do 3 of the other thing. I think that makes for a small but fun little hook, not terribly innovative, but better than someone just kind of playing a denial game. It's not straight denial. You don't get to do desert. It's just that, do I really want to do 2? Well, there's times I will choose that. And then the other one, I forgot about because I was really focused on that. I think it's that this feels like a game that has an expansion built into it already. With not only can you play with one mode, but then you can flip over the basic scorings to the other scorings, and then on the back of the maps there's also up to 3 like special objectives you can play, and I like that type of stuff. It feels like an expansion kind of folded into the base game already, a base game that I think we all admit is not strikingly new. It's kind of, I mean, it even treads, I think, grounds that a Kingdom Builder tread 11 years ago, or however long ago it was. Final thoughts and score, Mike. How about we'll start with you? I'm guessing, like you said, you buried the lead a little bit.
A little bit there, yeah. I'm giving it a 5. I found it overall forgettable. Literally. I wanted to go back and read the rules again because it did not really stick with me after my play. So here's what I'm doing.
Whoa. Oh, I didn't bring notes into this.
Let's make a bus route. Cartographers. Isle of Cats Explore and Draw. Metro X. Silver and Gold. Welcome to the Guild of Merchant Explorers, which is technically not writing, but that's a flippin' right.
Yeah,
if you want to punch up to a higher weight class, Hadrian's Wall, Twilight Inscription, all of those are flippin' right games that I like significantly better than this one. And so that's why I didn't do this as a gotcha type of a thing. I did that because I was thinking...
Well, I feel got.
No, it's not, because it has nothing... Because I'm not reacting to your scores. I don't know what your scores are yet. I'm just trying to... A lot of times I'll say, there are other games I'd rather play, and inevitably people say, like what? Well, I wanted to be able to say, like what? There's a lot, and I could have probably done more, but that was just a quick kind of glance through my collection. I don't feel like it does enough to stand out in a very crowded kind of genre. There are just other games of this type that I'd rather play. It's ultimately forgettable for me, so it's a 5.
All right. Camilla, do you want to go?
Yeah, I'm coming in significantly higher because I think what this, like I said, what this brings to the table is just that simplicity. I feel like I have that decision space and my decisions matter end game, and so you have a little bit of the puzzly, but it's also not something that you're really sitting down and mulling over and balancing a lot of things. It's just a very quick, light roll and write, and I think for that, what it was trying to do, it really nailed it for me. So I'm actually going to come in at an 8. This is not one that's forgettable to me because putting it in that lighter category, it is one that I have been excited to return to multiple times since, and it's one that I will seek out. And I like many of those that you listed. A couple of them I have no interest in playing either, you know, but that's just the way it goes. But I do like those as well. But in those, this has stood out to me for that reason, for what I think it was going for. I think it really hit, and it's kind of made a way in its collection for me because of that.
Interesting. I'm coming in at 7.5, so definitely closer to Camilla because this is a game that it's punchy and pleasant for its weight class. You know what I mean? There's obviously I don't think you're trying to compare it to Hadrian's Wall. Before before people out there comment,
you gave a scale there,
and I said punching up for those, but there's a number of others that are similar weights that I mentioned.
Yeah, I think that this one is pleasant, and there's a fun little tension, and sometimes you can reach things further than you expect by working on it, but also not completely foregoing something else you were going to do. There's a lot of competing things that you want to accomplish, especially as you throw in those bonus, those extra scoring tiles. And that's what I want from something. I think the back of the box here says 20 minutes, something you can solo very quickly. And for those reasons, it has a spot in my collection. So 7.5 from me. That's our thoughts on Explorers by Ravensburger and Phil Walker Harding. Till next time, my name is Chris Yee.
I'm Camilla Cleghorn.
I'm Mike DiLisio.
Have yourselves a fantastic time exploring the what's the single version of a multiverse?
Verse?
The verse.